In this video, we are going to be introduced to triangle congruence flowcharts. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is talk about our triangle congruence theorems. So remember that there are 6 of them. And so we have side, angle, side. Here's a little picture of what that's supposed to look like. Your side, side, side. Your hypotenuse leg, and again, we can only use that one with right triangles, angle, side, angle, and angle, angle, side. So when we do these flowcharts, which is just basically an organization of our thoughts, I want you to first think about which one of these 5 congruent statements is going to make our 2 triangles congruent. So let's take a look at our very first example. So taking a look at these 2 triangles at the right, and yes, I would like you to copy it down. I want you to examine these 2 triangles, and I want you to think, are these congruent to each other? All right, so let's try to figure this out, shall we? I notice that of my 5 statements, so I have side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side, and hypotenuse leg. And all of these are congruent statements. And we do want to use that symbol. I'm going to start eliminating. So side, side, side means I have to have all 3 sides. I don't, so I can eliminate that. I notice I do have one side, but I don't have the other 2 sides, so I can eliminate my side angle side. I can also eliminate my hypotenuse leg because I know it's not a right triangle. So now I'm choosing between these 2. They both have 2 angles, 32, 32, and 75 and 75. But notice where the placement of our 5.75 is. Notice that it's not included, right? So again, the big difference between these 2 is that for side angle side, your side is in between. And then when it's angle angle side, your side is not included. So if I look at this one, I notice that it is not included. So it's safe to say that this is angle angle side. So why can I say that this really is angle angle side, right? I can say this because I know that 75 matches up with 75. Those are 2 angles that match up together. I know that this angle of 32 is going to match up with that angle of 32. They're the same degree. And then I also know that this side of 5.75 is the same length as this side of 5.75. So again, I'm using my knowledge of why these 2 are similar to each other. So how can I organize this into potentially a flowchart? Okay, so a flowchart, right? This diagram below is a flowchart, and it's a flowchart because it shows the flow of thinking and reasoning. Okay, so I want you to remember that you're going to make some bubbles and you're going to draw some arrows. So inside the bubble is always going to be a statement, right? What is going to be that statement? Who knows? And then the underneath is going to be the reasoning. So reasoning. And then you draw an arrow to kind of indicate what's going to happen. So notice here we say the measurement of angle A is equal to 32 degrees because that was given information. We were told what that angle was. The measurement of angle T is 32 degrees. Again, we're looking over here on the second triangle, and that is given information. These 2 bubbles are going to lead us to this bubble right here where we get to say angle A is congruent to angle T. Why? Definition of congruence. When things are equal to each other, that means that they are congruent, right? And again, remember that M stands for measurement, so I'll put that down right there. And same thing for 75, 75. So B is on the first triangle, P is on the second triangle. Again, that's given information because it was told to us. And what does this lead to? It leads to us saying that these 2 are congruent to each other. And then last but not least, AC was 5.75, TO was 5.75. Again, what does that lead to us? That these 2 side lengths are equal to each other. The last thing that we are going to say is our final statement that these two triangles are congruent to each other. The triangle, and again, we're saying CAB, so notice that C is going to match up with O. Notice that A matches up with T, and again, we're told that right here, and B and P match up. So the order of the letters is very important. So order of letters, oops, is very important. Okay. Now again, you could write instead of writing a flowchart, you can write a formal paragraph instead, but a flowchart is a little bit easier to kind of understand, and it flows a little nicer. So let's try and fill out our very own flowchart. So let's take a look at these next two triangles. Okay, so we have triangle CAT and triangle PIG with the given information. So I'm told certain things, so 56.5 degrees, I got 101, got 15 as a side length. So go ahead and if you need to, pause the video so you can copy down different pieces of information. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to fill it out. Okay, so hopefully you have it all copied down. So so let's start with this information. Why are they congruent? So before I even look at my triangle congruence, I'm looking to see what I have in common. I see that I have an angle of 56.5 and another angle of 56.5 in common with each other. I see that I have a 12 right here, and I have a 12 right there. Okay, and last but not least, I do see something very different. I see 101.2 and 22.3. So what I might end up doing before I even start is just ask myself, well, what happens when I add up my 22.3 plus 56.5 and an unknown variable, and I set it equal to 180, right? So if I add these two numbers up, I would get 78.8 plus this unknown variable we'll call x, and then I will subtract 78.8, and I notice that I get 101.2, right? So this ends up being, I'm going to put a little arrow, this ends up being 101.2. That's important because then I can use that information, oops, to put highlight, not. So 101.1, or sorry, 101.2 and 101.2, right? So again, notice angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. I could have found angle T instead and try to find it using AAS. That's the beauty about this. Eventually you'll get to choose which you want to use. All right, so let's go ahead and let's fill out what we know. Okay, so I was told that the measure of angle C is 56.5. It's given information. So I want the angle that goes with 56.5, but in the other triangle, and I already highlighted, it's angle P. So the measurement of angle P is, and then 56.5 degrees. Given information, notice that these two arrows point to angle C congruent to angle P. Definition of congruence, so I don't have to worry about that. Let's go to the next one. CA was equal to 12. So notice that I wrote C first, so it's 56. So I'm going to write P first. And then A and G go together. So I'm going to say PG is equal to 12. Because they are equal to each other, I now get to say that line segment CA is congruent to line segment PG. And again, definition of congruency. And then last but not least, the measurement. Notice that in this one it says measurement of G was 101.2. So I would say the measurement of angle A is 101.2 degrees. And again, it was given. Notice here, we didn't write given information because technically I did not give that to you. We had to find it. How did we find that? We used our theorem, the triangle angle sum theorem. Again, angle A is congruent to angle G. Why? Definition of congruence. So then, final statement, we get to say that one triangle, and again, I just pick whatever letters I want to start with, so CAT. So C goes with P, right? A is going to go with G, and then T goes with the letter I. And again, make sure that you use the congruency symbol. I'm going to write it a little bit bigger. So CAT is congruent to triangle PGI. So again, you might have to make your ovals a little bit larger so that way you can fit some stuff in. And do not forget the arrow. So again, one thing is leading to another thing. Okay, and everything that you put in an oval needs to have a reason behind it. All right, so let's try another one and make sure we have some examples written down. Okay, oh, and to continue, once we've said that our triangles are congruent, we now get to find the length. The great thing about this is that CT, right, would be the same length as PI. So I could say that PI is equal to 15. So again, because congruent triangles have congruent parts. Okay, so that's one reason why we can say that. Okay, you could also use letters, or you can use symbols, which we'll talk about later. All right, let's try another one. All right. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video, try to figure out why these two triangles are congruent. So remember, we have 5 to choose from. And you may or may not have chosen mine. If you chose a different one, that's fine. I can always look at your notes later. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to highlight what's in common. So I see a 39 with a 39, so I have an angle in common. So I'm going to cross off side, side, side. I'm also going to cross off hypotenuse leg because I don't think they all have a hypotenuse. There's not a 90-degree angle. I'm also going to cross off side angle side because I noticed that the first one has 2 sides, but the second one does not. So I'm just definitely going to cross that one off. So now the next one I notice is that I have a, oops, always tend to do that, sorry. Okay, so the next one I have is I have 14 and I have 14. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the different color, sorry, the 116. Let me erase that, draw that a little bit better. So I'm going to use that 116, and I'm going to verify that this guy right here is 116. So I'm going to say 39 plus 25 plus angle, my plus sign is weird, plus angle A is equal to 180 degrees. So if I add my two numbers together, I get 64. And if I subtract those numbers together, I do get angle A was equal to 116. So I'm going to go ahead and write that in right here, 116. Okay, so I'm going to start off with pieces of information. Okay, so this is angle, angle, side. So this is what I want to do. And I don't know if you guys notice, but on my flow chart, I ended up doing it in the order that I had my answer. So angle, side, angle, right? So I kind of like to keep that going. Okay, so I'm going to do the 39 first. So I'm going to say first that the measurement of angle C is 39 degrees. And again, that's given info. I'm also then going to say the measurement of angle D is also 39. Actually, I just realized that these are not Oh no, they are 3916. Yeah, okay. A little hiccup. All right, so they are congruent to each other. And so we say given information. I get to say that this leads to this, so I get to say that angle C is congruent to angle D, and it's a definition of, and instead of writing out the whole word congruence each time, you can shorten. So notice that I wrote def of, and I'm just going to write my congruency symbol. Okay, so now I'm going to do my other angle. So my other angle will be the measurement of angle A, which is equal to 116 degrees. And again, that's given information. I'm also going to say the measurement of angle. Actually, no, that was not given information. Apologize. Let's erase that. That was our triangle angle sum theorem. Look at that. So again, notice over here we wrote that it was I colored it in blue, triangle angle sum theorem. So again, you can always use your symbols now. So angle A, we cannot write that it's given information. Angle E, we can though, because angle E, my mouse keeps messing up. Angle E is equal to 116. So again, what do these two pieces of information tell us? These two pieces of information tell us that angle A is congruent to angle, which one did I say? E. And again, definition, def of congruence. Why did I start writing it out? Let me just use my symbol. Def of congruence. Now I'm going to run out of space on my side of my little whiteboard. Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger. I wonder if I can. No, I can't. That's okay. I'll just write it underneath. So it should be over to the right-hand side. Okay. But I'm going to say this information. I'm going to say that AB, right, is equal to 14. That was given information. And I'm also going to say, so notice that A went first, so it's with 16. So I also have to say that EF is equal to 14. And again, given information. These two pieces of information in my flowchart are going to tell me that AB is congruent to EF. Why? Definition of congruency. So all three of these things, this guy, and this guy, get to tell me this. I get to now say that triangle, and I'm just going to say A, B, C, is going to be congruent to triangle. A went with E, right? B is going to go with F. And then the last one is D. Why do I get to say that? Angle, angle, side, congruence. Okay. Now, sometimes we're not given any information about actual angles, right? We're just given markings. And so sometimes this makes our flowchart a little bit easier, right? So notice again, if I bring up our congruency statements, notice for side, 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 we actually don't have any actual measurements. We just have little tick marks. So one little tick mark between B and C and one little tick mark between E and F, which tells us that these are congruent to each other. Okay, so when that is given to us, then we can just say given information. So again, I've already shown this slide before with little tick marks. Okay, so again, a little swoop over an angle, right? You don't necessarily need also the tick mark. I could just make two swoops, so I could say that these two are congruent to each other. Again, the box signifies that they're equal. I'm going to take that away because that was not given information. Okay, so based on this, so notice that besides the 90 degrees, that's the only thing that was given to us, right? we want to again create we want to create a flow chart. So go ahead, pause the video again, and try to create a flow chart on this one. And Ramon suspects it's going to be angle, side, angle. So that's the postulate or theorem that we're going to use. Okay, so go ahead, pause the video, try to do it for angle, side, angle. Okay, so if we're coming back from pausing the video, this is what our flowchart should kind of look like. So we need to have 90 degrees, so we need to put that in there. We need to put these little tick marks in for our side length of LR and AC, and then we'll put this other angle of L and A. So this is kind of what it looks like, right? So measurement of angle R is equal to 90 degrees, measurement of angle C is equal to 90 degrees. These then mean that they are equal to each other. If you wanted to, we could have just said that angle R was congruent to angle C, and we could have just said given information. Technically, that is given information. We are assuming. So either what was written here, or we can say what was written here. But notice here that LR and CA, notice I didn't use definition of congruence because I didn't put any numbers in, because I didn't actually have any numbers. So notice this time I just had given information. And again, notice the three arrows pointing towards our final result. So RLN congruent to CAB. And again, ASA is our congruency symbol. Try one more different type of problem. So let's fill in this flow chart. All right, so again, copy the picture down. Looks like a little bow tie. Okay, so here's an example. So Giselle started to prove that these triangles at the right are congruent. He was told that E is the midpoint of AC and BD. Okay, so, and that's it. That's the only thing that we were told. Okay, so based on this information, let's see kind of what we have to work with. Okay, so the first piece of the puzzle is trying to figure out what happens. Well, when I have a midpoint of something, right? If you think about the finals, or December is the midpoint of the year, right? Semester 1, semester 2. So it's the middle, right? So when I say E is the midpoint, basically what I'm saying is that this side is congruent to this side. If we're told that E is the midpoint of AC, I'm now saying that this distance, A to E, is the same distance from E to C. Now again, I'm writing these little tick marks in, which means it's not given information. So if I have, again, two sides, I'm thinking it could be side, 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 but I have no information to tell me about A, B, and B, C, so I don't think it's that one. I know when I deal with sides, hypotenuse, leg is always an option, but it's not a right triangle. ASA is out because it only has one side, and so is AAS. Those are both out. So the only logical one is side, angle, side. So that means that there's an angle. And so I notice that here in my flowchart, I do have an angle, right? Notice it's AEB, so it's angle E essentially, but we're trying to figure out which E it is. So it's this guy right here. Okay, so now I know how I need to write my flowchart. I know that I need to end up with SAS. So how am I going to get there? Okay, well, I'm first going to start with my given information. E is the midpoint of BD. That was given information. What does that now tell me? That tells me that BE is going to be congruent, right, to DE. Why do I get to say that? It is because it is a definition of a midpoint, right? It's not given information anymore, but it's a definition, so we get to use that word. And notice on the right-hand side of my flowchart, again, I'm given that E is the midpoint of AC. This is given information. Don't just assume that given goes to both of them, right? So it's given information, and notice the arrow is pointing that AE is congruent to CE, again, definition of a midpoint. And again, we can only use that because I stated that there was a midpoint. Again, looks can be deceiving, so don't go just by looks. All right, so now why do we have the angle in common? Why is angle AEB congruent to angle CDE? And that is because notice that they're opposite of each other. Those are vertical angles. So now finally I get to say, what are my triangles? So I get to say that triangle AEB is congruent to triangle. So if I basically just use these three letters, I'm going to say CED. Y, side, angle, side congruency. All right, we're going to get some more practice with flowcharts in class, but this is kind of just a jumping off point. If you have any questions, feel free to email.